Hello and welcome again to Afrotic TV. I am your host, Coinsela Abadis today, and today we are going to be tackling something very crucial and very timely for our farmers in Africa. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to keep your farm strong and your harvest bountiful even when things are tough. And thank you so much for always joining us on this program in the past. Thank you. And what we are going to be talking about today also is very crucial and is something you are going to learn from. As we all know, times are changing. Originally, agriculture is not easy, but with the issue of climate change, time and season changing, it's even becoming more difficult, and which is why we are bringing up this topic, because now we are seeing that a lot of pests is now ravaging. We are seeing unpredictable weather, especially for our farms in the north, for our farms in the northern area, and even those in the southern area. They are experiencing changes in the weather. Also, we are experiencing drought, more pests, as well as rising prices. Now, a lot of agricultural produce are more expensive. Even though they are scarce, they are still expensive. And this is bringing about food scarcity and also malnutrition. And in the end, the growing population is not being taken care of adequately, which is why we have to look into this topic and how to manage this situation effectively. And that is why we are bringing about smart farming. Well, that's why we are bringing about smart farming. And what is smart farming? Smart farming is whereby when you farm in a way that it is climate friendly, as well as you can increase profit, adapt to adapt to the changing weather, as well as make it sustainable. That is what makes it smart. It's not just about the way it's like smart, but what makes it smart is adapting to the weather, changing weather, as well as adapting to the changing weather, as well as increasing profit, and also mitigating drastic effect of the weather on our agricultural produce. So why do we need to adopt smart practices today? Why do farmers need to adopt smart practices? This is simple because the world is changing. The world is changing, the environment is changing, the practices, what we are used to before, can no longer be sustainable if we continue like that. Because what we are used to before, the normal practice for an average farmer can no longer be continued if we want to if we want our agricultural practices to be sustainable. We have to change. We have to adopt smart practices, which is why we are looking into this topic now, as well as also rain patterns are no longer predictable. Rain patterns are no longer predictable. Fertilizers and pesticides are becoming so expensive, and using them can excessively hurt your finances. Using them can excessively hurt your finances. For example, because in the past, the way our previous farmers or olden days, the way they depend on agriculture is not the way they depend on the soil, or the way they depend on the soil, because at those times the soil is still very fertile. It's not the same way the soil are fertile nowadays. Now we are excessively dependent on fertilizers and pesticides, and these are increasing our cost of production, which is why we have to adopt smart practices in our farming. Also, because of the way pests and diseases are becoming more resistant to chemical, it is making the the cost of our input to be becoming so high that farmers can no longer record enough profits. And even when they want to record enough profit, the produce are so expensive that consumers are complaining on the affordability of this produce. So in the whole sense, it is affecting our farmers as well as it is affecting the consumers, which is why we have to look into how to adopt smart practices in our farming. Now, how can farmers improve their soil health without spending too much? Now, we also looked at the fact that because farmers want to improve their soil health, they have to use a lot of fertilizers. They have to buy a lot of fertilizers and chemicals to improve the soil health because the soil has been degraded, and now they have to buy a lot of fertilizers. But now, what we are going to look at now is how an average farmer can improve their soil health without breaking the bank, without having to spend so much on improving the soil health. So we are going to look at some practical ways that an average farmer in Africa or any farmer whatsoever can use to improve their soil health. Number one is composting. Now, farmers through composting can improve their soil health. And this is not expensive in the sense that farmers can make use of their kitchen waste. Farmers can make use of their kitchen waste as well as for example, maybe if a farm family, after they finish eating, maybe the banana peels, yam peels, cassava peels, or even residues from past production can be used as a compost. And when farmers put this together, and they apply it on the farm, it can improve their soil health. It's without affecting their health when they are applying chemicals consistently, or without affecting the soil health, as well as it helps them to save costs. So farmers, through the application and composting of kitchen waste, animal dungs, crop residues, they can make compost manures. And this is also improve the soil structure and also return nutrients that can help grow new crops. So when farmers make use of animal dung, kitchen waste, as well as past production residues, it can help them to prepare for the next production, as well as save costs of chemical fertilizers, whereby they can make use of this compost after they make all these residues and animal dungs and kitchen waste into a compost. They can apply it to their prepared farm, and it's going to return nutrients to the soil and help crop grows. Now, what other ways is mulching? Mulching is also one of the ways that farmers can improve their soil health in, in an affordable manner. Mulching is whereby you cover your crop, you cover your soil with dry grass, leaves, or crop residues. Now, those crop residues, instead of you burning them, and in turn of you burning them, you are burning fossils, releasing fossil fuels and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. But instead of you burning the crop residues, farmers can use them to in the next production. By in this way, they are using it to improve their soil health. By when they take the crop residues, they cover the soil with it, and by this way, they are reducing their cost of production, as well as improving soil health, as well as reducing the harm caused to the environment, because they no longer burn the crop residues, and also they no longer apply excessive chemical fertilizer. Now, the next one is crop rotation. And as we all know, I usually mention crop rotation a lot. Crop rotation is when farmers rotate, change what they plant every season. Maybe this season you plant maize, the next season you plant cowpea, the next season you plant millet, the next season you plant cassava. By this way, you are rotating the crop, thereby breaking the cycle of pests and diseases. Because the pests, after you plant maize and you harvest it, the pests will be maybe expecting that you want to plant maize again. But when you plant cowpea, you are breaking the pest cycle, because the maize pest might not be able to affect the cowpea crop. So by this way, you are reducing the cost of pesticide, and you are also improving your soil health and also reducing costs. So crop rotation also helps to improve soil health in a very affordable and a safe manner. Now, how can farmers manage water wisely during dry times? How can farmers manage water wisely during dry times? And as we all know, water is very important. As blood is to human, even water is very important to human, so also water is important to farming. And now, because of the unpredictability of the weather, farmers are having difficulty predicting weather patterns, and in this way, it's affecting their production. And so now, how can farmers avoid this and ensure smart water management? First of all, is rainwater harvesting, whereby farmers set up big drums when rain is falling, or farmers build, or when farmers dig up ponds to save water. So in this way, farmers can ensure that they are managing the limited water available. Now, also proper storage of water. Proper storage of water. When farmers store their water, it helps them and harvest it. It helps them to be able to manage dry seasons effectively. It helps them to manage dry seasons effectively. Also, irrigation, drip irrigation, whereby farmers don't waste water by maybe sprinkler irrigation or maybe sprinkler irrigation. Farmers make use of, wherever farmers make use of drip irrigation. And on this channel, I've taught us on how to set up a low-cost drip irrigation system. You can check the other videos to see how to set up smart and low-cost drip irrigation, as this helps to manage water during dry season. Another way is mulching. Mulching also helps to manage water, because after farmers spray their farm with water, and after farmers irrigate their farm, if they don't mulch the farm, some water or half of what they spray might be lost back to the atmosphere through evaporation. But if farmers practice mulching, they can keep and reserve the water in the soil, thereby making it available for the plant to use. And in this way, farmers won't have to waste much water and effort through constant irrigation, because water won't be lost to the soil as much as possible anymore. Now, also, when farmers plant drought-resistant crops like sorghum, millet, and cowpeas, these crops are drought-resistant, thereby they require less water to grow. And in this way, they are more resilient to drought conditions. So in this way, these are smart water management that our farmers can employ to manage water during dry season. Now, how can farmers fight pests naturally? How can farmers fight pests naturally? We've talked about this in our previous episode. You can also look at those videos for references. And one of the ways farmers can fight pests naturally and cheaply is by using natural predators. Natural predators like ladybugs, bees, and ladybugs and bees, because these natural predators, they swallow aphids and other pests that are affecting our crops. Also, by planting pest-repelling crops, around your farm, like neem tree, like planting neem tree, marigold around your farm, it helps to keep pests away. All these plants, all these natural pest-repelling crops helps to keep pests away. Also, by using homemade pesticide sprays like neem spray, garlic spray, helps to keep pests away. Also, by hand picking pests, you can ensure that you are not using chemical pesticide, and by this it is affordable because you don't have to spend on buying pesticide. Also, by intercropping and companion planting. When you intercrop, you tend to confuse pests and keep them away naturally. For example, when you plant tomatoes with onions, you tend to confuse the pests, because pests that affect tomatoes can't affect onions. In this way, you are keeping them away naturally. Now, what are the best crops to grow during difficult seasons like this? What are the best crops to grow during difficult seasons? What are the best crops to grow in difficult season? What are the best crops to grow during difficult seasons? And like I mentioned earlier, we can grow some drought-tolerant crops like millet, sorghum, and cowpeas. These crops are highly resistant, according to research, to dry conditions. These crops are highly resistant and they can perform well in any they can perform well in any difficult weather conditions. They can perform well in any difficult weather conditions. So we can plant these crops. Also, by planting early maturing crops, like maize, groundnut, and sunflowers, because these crops they grow they grow and mature between 60 to 90 days, which makes you to harvest them before the worst of seasons. Because when you are able to, at least you are able to, the weather can be a bit consistent in 2 to 3 months, and you can plant these crops like maize, granite, and sunflower. In this way, you are able to quickly manage the weather condition, as well as ensure that you are able to harvest them before the worst of seasons. And also by planting local varieties. Each country and each region has local varieties that is resistant, that can withstand difficult weather situation. It is very important for farmers to make very good use and take very good opportunity of these local varieties. Now, how can farmers reduce post-harvest losses? How can farmers reduce post-harvest losses? One of the ways farmers can reduce post-harvest losses is by ensuring that they dry the produce very well to prevent spoilage. By drying them very well to prevent spoilage, also farmers can reduce post-harvest losses by processing them. For example, tomatoes. Farmers can, instead of farmers leaving it as tomato, they can convert it to tin tomato or tin tomato, and by sun drying it and processing them. By this way, they are reducing post-harvest losses and ensuring profitability. Also, proper storage. Proper storage by storing them properly using bags, jute, clay pots, or these natural plastic dry containers. Farmers can ensure to reduce spoilage through this method. And also by using ash or neem leaves in your storage areas to repel pests. When you use ash or neem leaves around your storage areas, maybe you just put them bit by bit around your storage area, it helps to repel pests. And also, farmers should ensure that they store in a cool, dry place. But this way, it is going to preserve the quality of farm produce. Now, how is the government in African countries supporting their farmers in Africa? How is it? Truth be told, the government support is not as much as it should be. And this is like a call to our government officials and government policy makers and stakeholders to ensure that farmers are being supported, because it is not just discussing them in the House of Assembly. It is very important to support our farmers in ways that can help them be and stay in production, and that can also ensure that more people are engaging in agriculture. Now, how can government support farmers? Number one, by subsidies and support programs, by planning and giving subsidies and support programs, through extension services, and also access to financial credit. This way, farmers in our African countries can be sure to be provided for and feel like they are seen. And when they are seen, it improves their production, and this way they can continue producing without fearing the risks of climate change. Now, how are international countries like Turkey contributing to African farming? And yet, international countries, international organizations are seeing to it that because they know that African farming is very, very important in world farming, which is why they are bringing their support to African agriculture. Now, our countries like Turkey and other countries supporting and contributing to African agriculture. Number one is through knowledge transfer. As we now, it is more organized farming agriculture organization are moving or creating a branch in Africa, especially from Turkey. I know a few from Turkey in African countries like Tanzania, like Malawi, like Cameroon, like Benin Republic. They are planting their research center to ensure knowledge transfer in our African countries. Also, we can see technological support. They are also ensuring that there is technological support as well as investment in infrastructure. We can see a lot of Turkey agricultural organizations that are setting up their branch in African countries to ensure that there is knowledge transfer, technological support, as well as investment in infrastructure. And through this partnership, African agriculture has been able to have access to innovative agricultural technologies. And if this can be improved on and developed more, this can be a way to ensure sustainable and smart farming in our African agriculture. And that is it for today's episode on AfroTube Agro. I hope you've been able to learn one or two from this episode, how you can control your pest naturally, how you can reduce costs, as well as how our government should support our African agriculture to ensure sustainability and smart farming. Remember, you don't have to have millions to set up a farm. You just need few and very important knowledge like the ones we are sharing on this channel to ensure the success of your agricultural production. And if you are a farmer out there or an expert and you want to share from your wealth of knowledge on this channel, do well to contact us on our WhatsApp number and we would love to welcome you here. Thank you so much for listening and thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Till I come your way again, keep farming smart and stay safe. Bye.